feed for crying out
Am
loud.
I live?
We are live.
I got no point. No countdown. No point.
I literally.
I now feel like Massey.
Live.
He did. He said we're going.
Did.
There's a difference. We're going to Vermont, but that could be next month. We didn't get a ready to go.
Okay, everybody, fill us in. How are we doing?
Are we working? Anybody? Bueller.
Can anybody hear it?
Nobody's on.
I'm trying to get into it on Facebook because Facebook can't just give me the live video.
Can anybody hear it?
It's super echoey or not. The mics aren't on.
Oh, that's is the settings. Did you get the settings on the audio in there?
There's no clipping.
Well, that's good. See, that's a plus.
Bam. There
Now?
it is. Now he did.
Now, does it work?
Now it's on.
Is it super echoey? Hello? Hello?
There it is.
Now, hey!
Come on, hey, we know it.
Now that
No
everybody
clipping.
has left the building.
Okay, guys, I'm just going to tell you what happened. This is what I think happened. Our computer just stays on, and it's a newer computer. So thank you for all who donated for our studio podcast room and this computer. Now, we still need a mixer. We still need a lot of other things. We'll fill you on that later. But I shut it off for about 10 seconds, booted it up, changed some things around, and bam. I bet you that was probably the issue. We just never shut that thing off. You know what I mean? Sometimes she needs to reset. There was a bunch of apps open and all that crap. So here we are. We're back.
I just heard For all those that don't understand why we started laughing, we heard Carrie's phone with Matt. Hey! All right. Good morning, everyone.
Hey,
Good
come on,
morning, Joshua,
hey.
Destiny, all of you who are watching. Thank you so much for tuning in that we finally got our audio working.
Guys, my arm jello is jiggling right now. I'm having fun.
Do the dance.
I can't do the truffle shuffle, dude.
Do the dance. Not
can't
do the dance.
shirted.
Don't even try it, Trent. Don't. I'm not doing it. If you guys want to see me do the truffle shuffle, comment below. If not, let's keep this PG.
Yeah, that'd be radar. Okay. Now that we are 20 minutes behind, that's okay, guys. We still love you. We're still with you. Everybody's into it. Elections. Mass. Elections.
Well, where was the wave we were all talking about? Now, we are winning. I should say we.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Carrie just said she wants to see the truffle shuffle.
Come on, babe. Come on, babe.
I mean, your wife said she
keep,
gave permission.
We'll keep her PG.
Here you go. Here, I give this challenge to you guys. If we get 500 views, Massey will do the truffle shuffle.
On the next one.
No, on this one. By the end of it.
By the end. Okay, so
you better share.
Share, like,
You
subscribe.
better
How about this?
get everybody watching.
If we can get up to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Ooh.
Ooh. We only got a couple hundred
I like
more.
it.
Can someone
Yeah.
turn that daggum thing on?
Okay, so I like that. Here's the deal. Here's what you got to do. We are at, I think, like 712 in terms of subscribers on YouTube. If we can get to 1,000, what's the timeline? What's our timeline, guys?
Before the new year.
Before the new.
All right.
Okay.
I can do
deal.
a New Year truffle
Yeah.
shuffle.
You will get a special edition, special
New
show,
Year truffle shuffle.
New Year truffle shuffle by Massey. If we get to 1,000 subscribers by New Year's, so you better get your friends onto the podcast.
I just want you guys to know how awesome it was that Mike was caught off guard this morning when it went live, because it's happened to me so many times. Now he knows what it feels like when no one points at you. Anyways, so guys, we had some elections.
Do you guys want me to like start pointing?
No,
and, like...
don't even trip. Don't even trip. But hey, guys, we had some elections that happened. You know what's unique, Mike, and we were kind of talking off camera here for a little bit, but now we're back on camera. So what's unique about the situation that just happened in the nation? I'm still, you know how people are like, they're either, no, the elections are not rigged, blah, blah, blah. The elections are rigged, blah, 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 blah. You can't deny that there's something off, even if you're in the middle, where Florida has a population of 21.5 million people. our races were called quick, man.
Yeah.
We knew what we were doing. Now, has a lot to do with our governor. I am not pro-Republican. I'm pro-liberty, okay?
Right.
Is DeSantis perfect? No. Do I think sometimes he kind of goes a little too far with some of the stuff? Sure. But it's like we saw some of the things he did to help curve off election fraud, right? You know, they banned ballot harvesting, all these other things, right, to make it a fair election. Arizona has what, 7.2 million, and we're still counting. Georgia has 10.7 million. That took forever. Colorado's still calling their
Right.
yeah, they're not even done yet. So it's like, can anybody tell me how it works for Florida, right? Because DeSantis is evil and he's a bad guy and all that stuff, right? According to them. But all of a sudden, these other states, we just can't seem to count. And Biden's administration called it a week prior to the elections. Oh, it's going to take weeks to figure out. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
And that's what gets frustrating is you're told before it even happens, oh, just hold on.
Just so you know.
So you know, we're going to take a little extra time here, probably, maybe, hint, hint, wink, wink. And it gets frustrating to watch. And I've got on here. So in the 1800s, the whole country didn't vote on the same day, but in 1848, election results were gathered by telegraph. But they had it together. In the 1700s, they actually voted in person. It was election day. Everybody would get together at the county seat,
town square,
Yep.
right? They would all boom, boom, boom,
and your name would get called. You would stand up and make your vote. I think we should go back to that. What better way to know? Okay, that's John Smith right there. John Smith, how do you vote? You can't fake that. You can't manipulate that.
And all the ladies were not told to vote. I'm kidding. There's a lot behind women's suffrage. That's not true.
Yeah, women shouldn't vote.
Have you
Media Matters is going to have fun with that one.
Gosh. I did not have anything to do with that statement.
Have
Okay.
you guys seen the video of people going around asking if people support women's suffrage?
Yes,
And
women's suffrage. And
Dude,
women's suffrage was
what's Carrie Compos's comment right there?
She said Florida
The
destroyed.
beautiful Carrie Campos.
Florida destroyed by hurricane a month prior. Hurricane on its way. Can still count results within hours.
yeah,
Exactly.
what's up with that? We did it all in one day with a hurricane literally at our front doorstep.
Right. And then we're still recovering from the other side.
Carrie
Right.
just said I'm fired. I'll collect my paycheck. I'll head home.
But seriously, think about
How does
this,
it feel,
right?
Mike?
No,
How does it
no,
feel?
guys, go just use your heads for a minute. Even if you're on the fence about election fraud,
Yeah.
okay? Why can Florida do it and other states can't? Why did it take so long for Michigan to count their votes? Why?
And
And these were the trouble states.
it's and I've got it in here. The whole mail-in ballot thing. Where did I put it? Because
also,
I got
too,
stats.
I don't think there's election fraud in Pennsylvania. I just think
I don't. Yeah,
we have terrible candidates or something, dude. Like that was
how
horrific.
often are we going to use that argument, right? That argument gets old real quick. And what does it do for you? And you and I have said that before. What does it do for you to fraud? We can talk about it, but at the end of the day, if you're not a part of the process, okay, you're just pointing your finger from your armchair. Now, this whole mail-in thing, most countries, including those in the European Union, 63% in the European Union ban mail-in ballots,
Listen to that.
except for absentee. If most of Europe, who y'all want to be like, are going, nah, a little too far.
That's true. Great point. Dems want to be just like
They
Europe. and all the
want to
other-
be Europe. They want to be France, except France bans it. That's
France.
France. Another 22% ban even overseas ballots or have a special requirement to be able to mail in your ballot, like an absentee. Yet here in America, everybody else in the world is going, maybe we shouldn't use mail-in ballots. But everybody here seems to be saying, yeah, let's mail in. Why not? There's nothing that could go wrong with that process.
You can keep going.
Yeah, no.
I was trying to do. I was trying to do that. The key. I was trying to keep her on the.
I know, but I got to think, I was like, is she need your truck because my car's behind her car, and so they're
She probably needs my truck. Sorry.
okay.
Don't worry.
Anyways, so my point remains: mail-in ballots are not a good idea. It just adds a variable to the system that is absolutely not needed.
Truth.
So why are we arguing for this? And of course, the argument you hear comes out of, oh, well, it's accessibility for people.
No, agreed. Okay. Someone just commented. It's true. The more time they have, the more time there is to rig. The more time there is to have some kind of a fraud, or should we call it frog? Right?
Frog. Yeah.
Because who knows what they're gonna do with these videos as we keep talking about it. I find it funny though. Still to this day, they were calling out election where the Democrats were saying the Republicans are going to win by fraud just before the elections happened.
Yep.
We were the conspiracy theorists to say there was fraud, right? They're saying it. This is why I'm saying you can't even trust man right now. You can't. You literally have to do what you're called to do, which is your duty. I preached a sermon on Sunday about voting. It's still your responsibility, no matter if fraud exists. And let me give you an example. If we're called to be stewards of our finances, right, and we have finances in tow, just because world economies are affected by either like our monetary system, nefarious issues going on, like the globalists and the elites, does not mean we still aren't stewards of our finances. Just because it's corrupted and they're taking money from us left and right through taxation or whatever, still does not mean we're not stewards of our money. It's the same thing with the vote. It doesn't matter how corrupt it is. Our job is still to be responsible with our vote, because it's not before man, it's before God. We're still called to be the lights. Now, then we got to elect people to win, or see the last effect of it all is we have to go in there and do something about it. Like, in other words, we have to say it's time to start impeaching. It's time to start removing. It's time to start doing, right?
And participating in that process. I think we're starting to get into the whole election process as conservatives. We're starting to realize, okay, we have to actually hold positions in that. And not that conservatives didn't before, but I think there's a new movement of, oh, we have to actually watch this position. We have to watch what's going on. Even more so now, conservatives have to be in the middle of the entire process. And whether both sides frog or not, that at least keeps everybody honest, because you're watching each other.
100%.
I picture, and this is kind of a stupid comparison, but I picture in North Korea, right at the boundary between North Korea and South Korea, the soldiers watch each other, because if one of them runs, the other one shoots him, right? There is something to be said for each side being in the same situation, watching each other. You'll keep each other honest.
No, 100%.
That's how the system should be.
Right. So look at Josh's comment right now. You have to educate the people in the election process the way your state can regulate it to understand it. Right. This is how I know some kind of frog exists. Hear me out here. When you're telling me that the red didn't turn out for, and again, I'm not, you guys know me, you know us, we're not the championing red, we're championing liberty. Most of our liberty candidates are on the red side. They're on the Republican side. So that's why I vote red. But hear me out. How come Miami-Dade was a majority red? All Latinos, mostly come from foreign countries, like first generation Americans, things like that. Some immigrants, they're here to vote, whatever, right? How could they flip red, but other states didn't? You know darn well that in every other state, the Republicans have been getting out there and busting butt. They've been going out there and campaigning. You saw the effect of gas prices, inflation, all these other things. You know people are concerned about it. You know people are frustrated about it. They're not listening to the dude in the White House right now who can't even put a coherent sentence together. You know something's up. You can't tell me something's not going on. I don't care if you like this or not. It's the truth. And I'm not, again, this isn't about red or blue. This is about integrity. That's what it is for me, right? If our state is seeing a huge transformation where DeSantis wins 60% of the vote, 60%, I'll just say it again, 60% overwhelmingly voted for DeSantis. You can't tell me that there's other states that didn't have the same thing. Arizona, Georgia, all these other things. They're seeing the effects too. And the red is doing just as much as they can. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, there's issues going on because our own state's flipping. You can't even deny it. What's different with our state than any other state is what I'm saying.
And there's tons of stats one way and another. I think that's the hard part about all of it, because and my dad actually said this the other night. He said one of the problems with Florida is everybody's moving to Florida. So you're getting almost a conservative exodus from some of these states, especially like New York.
Sure.
You get this conservative exodus that heads straight down to Florida. And he's like,
sure,
you guys are pulling all the conservatives out of the other states. Me, I'm like, well, nuts to you guys. I mean, it's Florida, right? But I think he does bring a valid point of, are we watching a demographic shift that's happening? You know,
I agree. I'll agree, but look at Texas. They got a bunch of people too, and they went purple.
Immigrants too. I'm not making a racist
I
statement.
I know that. I know
Yeah.
that, but it's purple, right? For
Right.
the most part. And again, let me just say this to clear the air. It's not that I don't champion the Republicans have let people down just as much as the Democrats. This isn't about the party to me. This is about liberty to me. Because we have people even in the state of Florida that are straight rhinos that are still electing Democrats to positions, even though we're a majority Senate Republican.
Right.
And rhinos are electing Democrats in key positions. Just go to Anthony Sabatini's Instagram page and you'll see he's calling out rhinos all the time, and they're Republicans. So it's not the party that I'm championing. I'm championing liberty. Sabatini, DeSantis, Jenna Haig, who you ran a great campaign. She didn't get it. But others nationally that are doing it, who can Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, all these guys that are liberty fighters, I champion those guys who are on the red side. So I'm not going for a party here because our party has let us down so much. And if you don't believe me, look at the effects of abortion, look at the effects of homosexuality, look at our school systems. The red was not holding the line when the red needed to. So now we need to elect people who are on the side of liberty, who are championing the red. You understand what I'm saying? I champion liberty first before the red.
And that's why I've been talking about the whole primary situation is you have got to get more invested in the primary situation. And this midterms, I noticed more increased participation in the primaries.
Truth.
Than I have ever before. And it's like, keep going. We got to get deeper on the primaries. We got to really go after those establishment candidates that just should not be there because they're not actually pursuing liberty and Constitution. We have to know who we're voting for. Otherwise, you get, well, lesser of two evils. You had your chance to get
I know,
the lesser out.
Yes,
you know?
yes,
and,
yes.
And this is just to the whole thing. Next time, and you're going to see this in the presidential election, the primaries, that is where you're picking your candidate.
I agree. And we've
You
been
know?
preaching this stuff for years. Everywhere we go, we preach this stuff. You know, it's like, it's not about your favorite party. It really is about the candidate. What is their testimony? What's their witness? How do they hold the line? All these other things. I'm excited when new young people come in and they're like for liberty, but I'm almost like, just wait a little bit longer. Prove yourself first before we elect you.
Yeah.
Problem is we've got such terrible candidates sometimes in certain spots of the nation where you need a fresh voice, right? And so I hope everybody understands our position. It's not that we're not championing, you know, the Republicans who are fighting for liberty. Yes, we do, but it's more so liberty for us. And liberty comes, and I've never voted for a Democrat, never probably will, because they're freaking psycho. So they are. There's no reasoning with the liberal. There's just not. They're crazy. They literally are accusing the right of what they're doing. Like, we're gonna kill people, dude. You guys want babies dead up until they're born. That's psychotic, dude. And I don't care which, it's demonic is what it is. So I will never vote Democrat. By the grace of God, I will never vote Democrat. And the closest I would have done maybe is Tulsi Gabbard, but she even left the party because it's nuts. So there you go.
When Tulsi pieces out, you know, way out, is it still salvageable? Probably not. I want to read some stats. First off, I told you guys, check out the blog because actually I wrote about this today. And Easy is going to be putting the article up today after we're done. And I wrote about this exact issue, and I really want you guys to read it because I think it makes a very important point about you have to be careful about who you pick, right? But some stats that we have to be aware of. So did you know that 72% of women between 18 and 29 vote Democrat?
Whew.
72% of women between 18 and 29 vote Democrat. Now,
Dang.
remember, millennials will have the highest proportion of unmarried and childless women hitting 40%. Why does that matter? 68% of single women voted Democrat in the midterms. You have a messaging situation here. You have a connection situation here. What am I saying? Conservatives love to go the facts, logic, reason route for good reason. We take stats, we take analysis, and we churn it out, and we say, this is what the best position would be. But I think you're going to have a hard time when you're talking to millennial women of connecting to them if all you give them are stats and facts.
Totally.
Our messaging as conservatives, as liberty, right, has to be something that's palatable for them to say, this is why you don't want them messing in your affairs.
But you can also see too the effect of education, right? What's been happening in the education system, that you can't even talk to them reasonably. You almost have to like stop for a minute, talk to me. You know what I mean? Where the attention span of somebody doesn't even want to pay attention, like the old guard, right? Like the people I deeply respect. Here's a good example. Our church, right? Pastor Todd can preach the socks off of something, but you almost have to even dumb that down for people to, because you know what I mean? Revelation is so
right.
different than I was talking to Pastor Todd about this real fast. I read a commentary on the preface to Romans. So it's just a preface. It's just this is what all the chapters explain. Martin Luther wrote this in the 1500s. Dude, to sit down and read that is insane. Because it's like, dang, okay, I got to stop and read that again. I got to stop and read that again. Today's messages are like quick hits, quick devotional. You don't need to be angry today. God will take care of your problems, blah, 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 blah. I'm just generalizing, okay? I'm just generalizing. I'm just generalizing. Careful. I'm not trying to cap. But I'm saying that even now, to talk politics to somebody, the hardest part about young people is they're so single issue focused, or they're emotionally focused. Like, you're taking away women's rights. No, you're killing a baby. No, we're not. It's my choice. It's not your choice to kill a baby. You know what I mean? It's like, it's all emotional, right? Instead of a principled position. We've lost the art in a lot of ways. And I say we because we're a society.
All of us.
We've lost the art of teaching them what principle is.
Right.
Not emotions, principle.
And that
takes work.
That's to Jan's point. Jan had said, we start with schools until that is fixed. And she's
She's
absolutely right.
She's right. Nailed it.
That's the whole Yuri Bezmenov case of, you get a generation, you raise them up, that generation is set. You've got to get the next generation. And I think it's so important for conservatives to understand the importance of education and schooling, right? And I think you're seeing a big homeschool movement going.
I know, which is teaching principally.
Absolutely. And more power to you guys.
Joshua just said also people get offended so much easier nowadays. You and I were just talking about the Colts, the sports, right?
Yeah,
the football team hires this guy, Jeff Saturday, who has never coached football in the pros. But he played for the Colts for 13 years, the Packers for one. Went to 2 Super Bowls, won. He's a leader. Everybody knew him as the leader. He was a locker room leader. He was the guy. The guy said, look, I just want to juice my team up. It wasn't anything. It's not like he's a perfect coach. He's not going to be. And even he said in a press conference, Jeff Saturday, he said, I'm the coach, but I may suck at this. At the end of 8 games, I'd be like, hey, God bless, man. Take it back. I don't want to do it. He goes, but I may be good. Who knows? But now everybody, you didn't hire a minority. You didn't do the right process. You didn't this. The Colts don't owe you anything. A business doesn't owe you anything. And if they're being racist, don't support them. If the Colts bomb this year, don't support them. Right? I mean, that's what it is. But now we're making laws and everybody's offended because they went through. Who's paying the checks? Not you. It ain't none. They don't care about what you're saying right now. The owner wrote the check. Leave them alone. People get so offended so quickly. You know what I mean? Where it's like, this has nothing to do with you. You sit at home eating bonbons and donuts, and you're commenting on what's going on. It's so ridiculous, right? Like, hey, good for them. If they thought that this was a good move for the team, it may be, may not, but why not? Right. Let's give it a shot, right? Like, I don't know football that way. I don't know the operations. What did they see in the guy? Who knows, right?
They must have seen something. They must have had some trigger that they went, I think he could do it. Let's try it.
Pastor Jan just said it. Emotionally driven rather than reason-driven culture right now. She's exactly right. Where is reason? Let's just sit down. Even God said, come and let us reason together. Let's just talk about this. No, there's none of that. You're offensive because you're on the right and you're a homophobic hating bigot who wants to push old ladies off wheelchairs and wants to make sure they don't have health care. It's like, what? Or the church is called to heal. I don't want the government to do it.
And the difference is when, Easy, you got something?
Yeah. Actually, Destiny touched on a really similar point that Jan just touched on. As a millennial, I feel like my generation votes more on feeling. Like they should be able to get abortion as healthcare, for example, and you see that over in California now, especially after these elections.
Right.
We don't have to segue over to that, but yeah.
No, it's true, and that's why I brought up that whole single women factor, because I think abortion here in Florida, I don't think abortion was a driver, but there were like 5 states that passed protections for abortion in their states. So I'm wondering, was abortion a driver for some of these states?
I agree, because they polarized it,
yeah,
right? So the Supreme Court did the right thing by reversing a decision. They didn't make a decision after that. They just said the court had no business making this decision.
right.
That right there, folks, is rigged. You can't get more rigged than that, than the court saying you can kill babies. That had nothing to do with the court system in the 70s, right?
Yeah.
They came on now and said, we have no business, we have no jurisdiction in this. You know why they did it, dude? And you know what? I give them credit. They may not be perfect. I give them credit. They had the guts to do it. They did the right thing, knowing they'd be protested, knowing they may be hated, but they did it. Dude, you can applaud that. You can get behind these guys, right? Look at what Angela just said. She said, I got passed up for military programs because I wasn't a minority.
And that happens.
Dude, that's terrible.
It happens in military. It happens in first responders. It happens in education. Like, it's happening. And isn't it funny that it happens so often in government programs?
There it is. So who's running the narrative? Who's running the narrative?
Right.
It's the government, right? Don't trust them. Trust us. Don't trust look at what those senators were saying. His cabinet kept saying, don't trust social media. Trust us. We know what we're doing. They kept putting that out before the elections. Don't trust social media, which, you know, when people prophesy the red wave and stuff like that, cool, do that. Now we have to see, okay, Lord, it's not exactly a wave. It's going to come in another way, right? Because I thought Boebert lost, but she didn't. You know, Carrie Lake, I thought she was losing, but she's not. You know what I mean? So maybe it's a backdoor type of thing. Maybe the Lord's kind of doing something behind the scenes, because we're still projected to win the House, right?
Reds will win the House. The Senate is very much up for a toss.
It's a toss right now.
It's very much a toss.
Right. But we lost 2 governorships to Democrats, right?
Right.
We still have a shot, though, to keep the key states. And if we keep the key states, you're going to see people leave the blue states going to the red states, right? So it's going to strengthen them. What that means is the states now have that authority to exercise against the federal government. You don't have authority in this jurisdiction. That's where you're going to see the states rise up.
And I think that's really important to remember, is a guy like DeSantis or you've got a lady like Noem, they're willing to stand up against the government. And that's something that you really have to have a growth of, are governors who are willing to tell the federal government no.
Exactly.
If you get that movement forward of governors and state legislatures telling the federal government, you can't do that, don't touch that, step away, there will be a more healthy back and forth between the federal government and the states. Right now, it's basically the federal government says, well, we'll pull your funding, and the states go, I'm sorry.
Isn't that ridiculous? And they're supposed to be our watchdogs, and here they are bribing us, right? And what's unique too is, I find it like with Arizona, right? If Carrie Lake gets in there, dude, she's no nonsense.
Yeah.
And her attitude is more righteous, hear me out, than most politicians. I'll tell you why. Because she's not coming and steamrolling saying, this is what I'm going to do. No, I'm fighting for the people of Arizona. She's not saying I'm fighting for the nation. I'm local right now. This is for my state. That right there, I'm telling you, there's a heart's cry the Lord's hearing. And God, I pray that you move that election. I really do. That woman, there's something about her, dude, that's like, she's got the guts, but there's a righteous side to her too, of like, I'm not getting emotional with you. I'm not going to pick on you. I'm just going to say what I'm going to say, and I'm going to leave.
You know what I love?
That's so righteous.
I have not seen, and there are people who are older than me that are watching and listening, so maybe you have seen, but I haven't seen a movement of solid candidates of conviction coming out.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like it seems we're starting to grow that pool of like, that's a person that I can actually support, instead of I just don't like the other guy. Because for a long time, when I look back at politics, it was always just, well, he's not the other guy, I guess. You know, he's red, I'll vote for him.
No,
I think this see the movement that's starting to churn up, and of course, it's making the establishment scared. The establishment doesn't like that idea.
That's right,
because they want
submission.
And I know I go after him a lot, but the Mitch McConnells of the world, they just want the system to keep rolling the way it is.
Right. And I think too, what President Trump taught us was, you can be effective. You can be a Republican and be effective in office.
Yes.
But where his was a little bit more on the emotional side, you know, evidenced by how he made fun of people and whatever. We got a DeSantis who's pretty strong in his convictions. We have a Carrie Lake who's strong. Christy Noem. now Tulsi Gabbard. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're seeing people stand with that kind of boldness without the pettiness,
Mhm.
right? I'm sorry if you think I think Trump's petty. Just a lot of things he did. Calling DeSantis de sanctimonious is wrong, right?
Should we?
I mean, we could go there, and I don't want to cap on because if he runs, he's going to clear the field. There's nobody's going to run against him. You'd be foolish to run against the dude.
Who, Trump?
Yeah, because he's too popular. I'm sorry, he's way too popular right now. I'm just calling it. Like if someone goes, he's going to eviscerate them. He's popular. He's still popular, dude. I mean, this is where you and I will disagree.
Let's.
This is where we'll disagree. But I'm telling you, if he runs,
I want to have that conversation.
He's gonna clear the field.
It really depends if DeSantis runs or not, because
I hope he doesn't. But
one of the yeah, me too. But what concerns me about Trump, and just stick with us, guys. If you're an ardent Trump supporter, understand.
Just
we
hear
are not
the
gonna
discourse.
see all- yes.
Reason together. We're
Reason
reasoning.
together.
Don't get upset. Don't get emotional. We're just calling it like we sees it.
So,
Okay.
So I think one of my biggest issues is Trump went after DeSantis right before the election. Hours before the polls closed, he was going after him and saying
Which was
"DeSanctimonious"
stupid.
and saying, if he runs for president, I'm going to unleash stuff. You don't know the real guy. I know him better than anybody except maybe his wife." That's not the time or place. And actually, he caught a lot of flack for doing
He did, especially from Floridians.
Yes, people were not happy. Now he's following up not only with attacking DeSantis, now he's attacking Youngkin of Virginia, and he's going after Youngkin. His tweet or True Social post, whatever, said Youngkin. Now that's an interesting take. Sounds Chinese, doesn't it? In Virginia, couldn't have won without me. I endorsed him, did a very big Trump rally for him telephonically, got MAGA to vote for him, or he couldn't have come close to winning. But he knows that and admits it. Besides, having a hard time with the Dems in Virginia, but he'll get it done. Now, some people are pointing out they think it's because the lieutenant governor, Sears, she supported Trump very ardently, and now she's coming out and saying, I think maybe it's past his time. It's maybe time for him to step back a little bit and let the new movement come forward.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't like. And he's still rolling on this sanctimonious title.
I don't get. What are you doing?
I don't know. And people
see. This is where, but this is what I'm talking about, where it becomes emotional for the guy.
right.
He's very, very, and I'll shoot it straight. He's very prideful because like they can't do it without me, dude. You represent God. You said it has nothing to do with you, Trump. It's everything to do with God. Now, again, did he do some awesome things? Yes. Nobody's denying that. But dude, God will humble you too.
And that's, I think,
He used a Saul,
right.
King Saul. He used him too.
And there was a point where Saul was done, right? Trump also went after DeSantis again after the election. He said, News Corp, which is Fox, the Wall Street Journal, and the no longer great New York Post, bring back Cole, is all in for Governor Ron DeSanctimonious, an average Republican governor with great public relations who didn't have to close up his state, but did, unlike other Republican governors whose overall numbers for a Republican were just average, middle of the pack, including COVID, and who has the advantage of sunshine where people from badly run states up north would go no matter who the governor is, just like I did. Trump continued by saying DeSantis was desperate in 2017 and that DeSantis had low approval, bad polls, no money, but he said that if I would endorse him, he could win. I also fixed his campaign, which had completely fallen apart, Trump continued. I was all in for Ron, and he beat Gillum, but after the race, when votes were being stolen by the corrupt election process in Broward County, and Ron was going down 10,000 votes a day, along with now Senator Rick Scott, I sent in the FBI and the U.S. attorneys, and the ballot theft immediately ended just prior to them running out of the votes necessary to win. I stopped his election from being stolen.
Listen to this.
And now Ron
Isaiah 14
DeSanctimonious is playing games.
See, okay, can we just stop?
Yeah,
Stop for a minute, just
no, you're
because I want you to continue. Ron DeSantis didn't know what to do with the pandemic. What does anybody forget that Trump
closed too?
Trump closed too. Trump spent $2.5 trillion on the first wave of the COVID spending, which killed our debt. Trump spent $7 trillion his first 4 years, way more than Obama did in his 8.
Promoted Fauci and kept
Fauci
there.
Promoted vaccinations, knowing that we didn't have a system on it. So anybody can come out against Trump and do the same thing, but they're not doing it. Here's why I disagree. Here's why I disagree with some that are commenting. hear me out what I'm saying. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. I think in a lot of ways, President Trump, again, he's a Republican. He's a conservative. I think he's got a lot of sanctifying to do. I mean, he really does, right? Because his discourse dictates that. Pastor Jan just said something really cool. She goes, I wish we could speak into it. I agree.
Me too.
I wish we could.
And this is not an attack of I can't stand him, crush him. It's he's done so much for the movement, and it's frustrating to watch. This fruit that's happening right now, that's coming out of his mouth, is what's frustrating for me, because if he would understand the bigger picture, he could be such an asset. Such an asset. He finished. The fake news asks him if he's going to run if President Trump runs, and he says, I'm only focused on the governor's race. I'm not looking into the future.
There.
Well, in terms of loyalty and class, that's really not the right answer. Now, somebody pointed out the average Republican governor referred to in the 45th president's statement has an approval rating of 64% and just won several deep Democratic counties on Tuesday. If this is a preview of his 2024 primary strategy, it will turn off far more voters than it will bring in.
He's right. Whoever just said that. Now, listen, he's got to do that because DeSantis has a high approval rating. I'm sure Youngkin's getting a better approval rating. Carrie Lake will have a high approval rating. Kristi Noem will have approval rating.
And if he would come alongside them, his approval rating would go up. What he's going to do is start turning off the people who are like, DeSantis is great. What are you saying about? And which, frankly, personally, is me.
I know. Yes. Yeah. 100%. 100%. But this is where, again, let's reason together, right? How do we pray if he runs for president?
Right.
What are we doing to help? Lord, there was prophecy about this guy. It was right. Dead on, too. Kim Clement, all these others, right? Mm-hmm. We can't deny that. So if you use corrupt kings to bring in righteousness in the Old Testament, this may be one of those things. I don't want him, though, to stay corrupted.
Yeah.
It's like, Lord, I don't want to speak against my president. I love my country too much to do that. Guys, if you notice, we haven't made fun of Biden. We're not doing what everyone else does. It's easy to. That's low-hanging fruit. Like you always say, it's low-hanging fruit. It'll make us feel stupid because we're not Christians at that point. I don't need to make fun of him. He's doing it himself. He's exposing himself. But dude, if you represent Jesus Christ, hold your tongue for a second and let the Lord direct your talking.
Right.
Let the Lord direct your doing, right? You say it's all Jesus Christ. Well, in that whole statement, I'm the one who did this for you. I'm the one who did this. I'm the one. Read Isaiah 14.
Dude.
I will ascend above. You
Nebuchadnezzar.
Bro, seriously. So like,
I built all this.
How do we pray if he does run?
Right. And I think that's what it boils down to is the concern becomes he has
good
so
about
much
Nebuchadnezzar.
strength.
Thank you for that. That was
right.
Good.
Well, and think about it. It's like he's got so much strength, so much ability, but the Lord is no respecter of men, and the Lord will remove him if the Lord needs to. And it's kind of like, man, you could do so much. Come on, let's realign. Let's keep going.
One thing we need to realize too about President Trump, he's a soul first.
Right.
He's not just a president, man. We got to pray into this dude. We really do. We can't cap on the guy. We're just calling out fruit what we see, right? Same thing with Biden. But dude, can you imagine? Like the Supreme Court turned because of years of prayer. Like seriously, that's the Lord's hand. You know what I mean? That we're doing something. These guys are souls first. They're not just politicians, right? We're all being sanctified right now. I'll be the first to tell you, God rocks me all the time, right? So it's the same thing here. Pray for those that are leaders. Pray for those in authority that we may lead quiet and peaceful lives in all godliness and holiness, the Bible says, right? There's if we have eyes to see and discern it, we need to pray that into him too. Mm-hmm. Lord, we're seeing it, not to call it out only, but to pray into it, to hopefully minister to him. Like Pastor Jan said, put us in front of the guy. Like, let's talk to him. Like, dude, just stop for a minute. If you were to support the guys that you were behind, dude, it would blow you up. If DeSantis came out in favor for Trump and Trump just held back a little bit, dude, it'd be perfect.
Well, and to your point, a lot of people have brought up, I think a Trump DeSantis ticket would be amazing. Well, now we're doing damage to a ticket like that. Now we're doing damage to that idea. And I'm not saying that I'm fully supportive of that idea anyways, but if you don't gain anything by burning all your bridges.
No.
And I know Trump has lived a life of having his fists up to fight everybody.
Yeah.
Because he's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. You go in, you compete, you get the job, you get the bid, you get the contract, you build the building. You need to crush everybody around you, otherwise they're going to crush you. But when you're leading a movement, it's a whole different ballgame, because now,
Dude, totally.
now all of a sudden
totally.
you are a leader who has to train up people behind you. You've got to train up people behind you.
Right,
you know?
right. Thank you. That is exactly it. How do you make disciples? And that's not what he's doing.
No,
He's not making disciples, right? That in the political realm, it's just as much as in the spiritual realm. We got to make disciples. Who's coming behind us, right? Us as leaders in our churches, us as leaders in our families. Who's coming behind us to take our place, to be a mantle and be a light piece, right? A lighthouse for people. And I think too, you know, when we're talking about, you know, President Trump and DeSantis, all these other guys, you know, we got a bunch of blue states out there we're not even talking about, like Newsom and all these other guys, who there's a bunch of Christians there fighting too.
Yep.
Chino Hills, you know, that pastor there in California, you know, people in Oregon, people in Washington, people in Minnesota, Wisconsin. Like, you got a bunch of fighters out there that are like, Lord, we need something. And we need to keep praying into those things too.
Could you imagine what would happen if you had a real consensus of this new conservative movement, which of course it gets labeled the MAGA movement, whatever.
Sure.
Okay. If you had, say, a Kerry Lake, a DeSantis, a Nome, a Trump, and maybe even a Gabbard, who all looked to California and saw the next governor race going on in California, and they all said, you know what? We're going to create a movement around the nation supporting the next conservative candidate running against Newsom. Just the energy that would bring around the nation of all of a sudden you're seeing DeSantis going, no, I fully put my weight behind this candidate. You know, who was it that ran against Newsom in the recall? Oh, what's the guy's name? He does Larry Elders.
Elders, yeah.
Could you imagine if it wasn't just DeSantis, Trump, Lake, Nome, whoever? I hope Elders get it, but they are there with him. They're stumping for him. They're moving their own base. Hey, we need to support this guy. If you got some money to donate, we're going to throw it over there, right? Like, create a solid, cohesive movement. Put aside, this is that unity thing. Put aside the disagreement. You're going to disagree. You're going to disagree at some point. But if you put aside all of that and you say, but we're unified on the basics, the pillars, the deep convictions are what unify us forward, and we're going to support and uplift the other ones who are fighting in massive
100%.
Battle, imagine where you get. But right now, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about this, Trump going after DeSantis and Youngkin and others, is like, bro, you're breaking unity.
You are.
Please stop. Stop.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, to your point, because you were talking about training up and leaders. The other, and this is a lesson for you as a leader, right? For everybody, all you watching. If the people you're leading succeed, you succeed. Now here's where it's tough to watch. Trump said, well, DeSantis was middle of the road. He only won last against Gillum because of me. In 2018, Trump's endorsement, DeSantis won Florida by 32,000 votes. In 2022, without Trump's endorsement and Trump actually attacking, DeSantis won Florida by 1.5 million votes. That's your lesson. What Trump should have done as a leader is come out and say, man, he killed it without me even getting involved. That's awesome. Shows you the strength of our movement.
That right there. And, you know, it's funny, talking to a lot of spiritual leaders, you know, about this. They're talking about a movement and like how it does, like the Democrats know how to organize and be unified in their positions. Do they fall apart? Yes, because in their position, they're willing to compromise, right, to get ahead somehow. But in some weird way, they know how to unify. So they know how to go and attack and all these other things. And that's something that the Republican Party sorely needs, is some kind of unification toward liberty. And when you have a split like that, attacking people or whatever, especially people in your own party for no reason, right? DeSantis did the best he could. Nobody was like, could DeSantis have predicted a pandemic, which was not a pandemic, right?
And neither could Trump.
Nobody could have.
Right.
So you can't criticize one person's or another, but what you can criticize is how they took away liberty. Constitutions are still valid. This emergency power stuff has to go.
Yes.
Right? But at least when Governor DeSantis came out of this and saying we're going to reopen Florida, this is ridiculous, right? Well, dude, we led the nation, man. Like he did what was right. Give the people the choice. That's liberty. I don't want to be involved in their things, dude. Look what he's doing now. He was stumping. I did a prayer for him here in Port St. Lucie a couple weeks ago, no, last weekend. And dude, to hear him talk, man, it's mesmerizing. DeSantis knows he's good, but he was like, I just want everyone to know we're working to abolish taxes for baby formula, baby clothes. I think like for baby goods. I'm like, you should. Everyone's like, wow, like removing taxes. How's he going to do that? I don't know. But he's like, we're going to take away taxes for pet food. We're going to take away we reduce taxes here. We're actually going to lower our tolls to half. Everybody was like, dude, how is he doing this? Because he wants to give it back to the people. I firmly believe that's where his heart is. That's huge. Why attack that?
Yeah. And
that's the question.
Paul and I were talking about the surplus, and Paul had made a good point. I think maybe you were there as well. And Paul's like, we've got 20 billion. Why? Why does the government of Florida have 20 billion in surplus?
To do what Jesse Ventura did and write checks back to the people.
Yeah,
but then again, we don't pay state tax, so you can't do that because where does it come from, right? I mean,
well, and that's why are we taxing that much, and what are we taxing that much if we've got that much of a surplus? That means our government doesn't cost that much, you know.
Angela, you're welcome to move to Florida, girl. We could use you here.
In case you're listening, Angela says you're convincing me to move to Florida. Come on down,
dude. But I'm just gonna talk about this real quick.
Yeah,
I was there, and they said, "Hey, stand here." He wants to meet everybody, so I did a 2-minute prayer. It was really cool. I was treated so kindly and very, very cool, first class stuff. DeSantis gets up and talks, dude. 40 minutes off the dome, and dude, it was good. It wasn't like, look what I did. He goes, no, the people of Florida talked. They commented. This is what they wanted. I needed to do everything I could to make sure the people are free. We want to keep Florida free. We want it to be a free and open state. We want to make sure, dude, he went after Disney. He goes, Disney wants to go woke. Fine. You're going to pay taxes just like every other business does. You're not going to have any more sanctum. I was like, okay, like, there you go. Why should they have special privilege? You want to talk about a privilege? They had it. Why? Who gave it to them?
Right.
When it was good, when the company was great, when the company was actually doing something righteous, which I don't even know if I support that. I don't know. Get government out of business, right, is my ultimate position. But the fact that he's going after woke companies and saying, look, I don't want you to indoctrinate kids. Can't you just be Disney? Can't you just make The Little Mermaid without any kind of, can't you just make these movies without any kind of perversion? Can't you just have an open park for everybody? Why do you have to have a gay pride? I mean, he didn't say any of this. I'm saying, can't you just do it without a gay pride day? Can't you just be a park where kids want to go and have fun without pushing your crap? Right? That's it.
I think that's what at the risk of derailing, I think that's why I like Universal and maybe I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like
the devil.
They've tried to stay out of that.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, yeah, they have. Which Universal's dope.
Yeah, which I appreciate. Like, just stay out of. Just sell me a ticket, put me on some rides, shove me out at the end of the day.
I'm getting kind of frustrated though because it's like we have the She-Hulk thing coming out. Are they going to change the ride to a she? You know what I mean? Like it's cool. Like I get the whole woman thing, right? I get it. But like now you're trying to push an agenda where it's like, hey, the Hulk's the Hulk, man.
I don't think so. I feel like Universal has all those like Marvel things because that was before Disney owned Marvel.
Yeah, but I mean, like, no. So Captain Marvel's a female, which is fine. That's what it's supposed to be. But they're going like you see, like the Black Panther. It's kind of all female driven in a sense. That was all what you were seeing. It's like they're just doing these agenda things.
Well,
where it's like, come on.
This was never something. This isn't all new. These are actual characters from
the books.
From the books.
Right.
And all these characters were made because there was some form of movement similar to what's going on now back then with comic books.
Ooh, that's an insight
Look
not many
at
people bring in. Because people will talk about, oh, well, She-Hulk is a character from way back when, but people don't point out most times that was that a character that was developed because of the 70s feminist movement?
There are plenty of characters. There's a female Iron Man. There's a female Captain America. Like you said, there's a female Black Panther, female Thor too. Like all these characters are coming out now because it's resurfacing, and this is what's popular.
Dang.
And to your point, I am great
How
about
did we
having.
do this?
I don't know.
We went from elections to bam.
Female superheroes. But I want to make my point, and then we can get back. Y'all stick with me. I am totally on board with female superheroes, right? I'm
Yeah.
conservative. I'm not supposed to want black or female superheroes. I don't care. It's fine. But come up with a new one. That's where my problem. That we'll take Iron Man and
Make
make
him
him a
Iron.
woman.
Iron, whoa, man.
Whoa, man.
Hey, Angela, but the food there is so good, though. So you got to go because the food is good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just good. Forget the rides.
So she talks about getting sick on rides. And you're like, but the food's good.
I'm just saying.
All
She don't,
right.
have, she don't have to go on
man,
rides.
I got a joke.
You
on
got to
that
be
one.
careful because some Disney restaurants have terrible food, and then others,
Yes.
it's like 5-star cuisine.
Yes.
Well,
I am so ready to derail this
okay.
conversation.
Yeah, but
Let's get
back to the point. Like, we're still waiting for certain elections to go down.
Yep, we still got to figure out.
We gotta
Nevada. Can I give the statistics on Nevada, Arizona, just so you guys know?
Let's do it. Come on.
In Nevada right now, Laxalt GOP leads 49% to 48%.
Come on.
He's up about 9,000 votes with 84%, 90% of votes in. In Arizona, Kelly, who's a Democrat, is ahead of Masters 51 or sorry, I didn't check the percentages, but 115,000 votes with 80% in. Okay. So this is coming down to the wire. We'll figure out what's going to happen. The problem is you've got the special runoff in Georgia. And Warnock was ahead of Walker before the special runoff. Now they're going to do it. You won't know till December. You could get Nevada. Likely what's going to happen, you'll get Nevada, you'll lose Arizona, and then it all comes down to Georgia.
100%.
So every fiber of this movement now has to go into those three races. Democrats know that. Conservatives better be on top with their dollars, with their support.
I think they will be. I think they will be. I think we're starting to see now too. Like we're going to start going in person. Can't trust these machines. Obviously, the whole Kerry Lake situation. How come only in their state did they go down? 20% of the machines.
New Jersey did too. 20%.
I didn't know that. When did that happen?
Maricopa County had some percentage. I don't remember what it was. They had a bunch go down, and then New Jersey had like 20% of their machines went down.
I didn't know that. Well, I'm wrong. I can admit that.
But and I made this point on that short is I thought these machines weren't supposed to be connected to the internet. So if they're all going down, that means it's a programming issue. If it's a programming issue, that means that machine is not reliable like you've been telling me. So either it's connected to the internet and there's a connectivity issue, or your machines need some programming updates, or just get rid of them.
That's right. And go back to going house to house. Okay.
How do you vote?
Okay. Oh, they're dead.
Roll call.
Have a clipboard with tally marks.
Roll call, Josiah Smith. How do you vote?
Do you own or rent? You can't vote. All right. Well, that was enough shenanigans.
So
you
life.
close us out, Mikey.
Yeah, life. It's all. It's all.
Look,
Yeah.
life lesson. You can't trust man.
You live.
No, you can't trust man. Like, this is where it is. It's like we can't trust man. We have to trust the Lord knows what he's doing. He's got it. He is in control. None of this catches. We hear this a lot. None of this catches God off guard. Do you think man's plans are going to upend what he's doing? No. He knows what he's doing. We just got to keep fighting.
Mm-hmm.
We got to stay true to who the Christian is. We got to stay in integrity. We got to stay in prayer. We still have to discipline ourselves in the faith. We still have to go preach the gospel, still go out and disciple. All that is done through faith in Christ. But we can't be shaken by this stuff. Right. And we shouldn't be surprised or shaken that this happens, because we live in a world and it's the world, right? And they're going to do whatever they can to gain an advantage. So we got to trust the Lord. And it always comes down to trusting the Lord. And I love that about the Lord, that he knows what he's doing. And thank God he knows what he's doing, because I sure as heck don't. And so
it's a ringing endorsement.
Anyways, all right. We love you. Subscribe, like. If you like our commentary and political and stupidity, please subscribe. We also love the Bible, so we'll hit those issues too. We know that the Bible is our it's the Word of God, obviously incorrupted, from cover to cover, but it guides us, it leads us, it shows us, it's a light to our path, a lamp to our feet, right? And so we continue to move forward in the word. Stay in the word of God. The more you stay in the word of God, the more discernment you'll have to see what's right and what's wrong. And God will lead you that way. So we love you guys and support us. We've got some stuff coming up big time.
Yeah. And check out the blog. Read the blog. Let me know what you think. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Truth.com/blog.
Truffle
yourself
Shuffle,
some
guys.
merch.
Truffle
Yeah.
Shuffle, January
1,000
1.
subscribers,
1,000
January
subscribers,
1st.
YouTube.
Better get working on that YouTubes. The YouTubes. All right. Until next time, guys, we love you. Thank you so much. Have a great day.